the breath is healing. It literally is the first thing that breathes us life when we come into the world.
What's your carnal theory?
Denell, could you just start us off by sharing the theory that we've talked about?
Yes, I would love to. So I have it written down here. So if I look down, it's just to make sure I say it all. My theory is that when we take long, deep inhales through our mouth during sex, this opens up the female pelvis to be able to receive penetration and more pleasure, and it makes it more possible for us to achieve what we all dream of, which is cervical orgasm. So breath is like one of the most important ingredients in achieving cervical orgasm, because our mouth and our throat are deeply intertwined to our pelvis, our vaginal canal, and our cervix. So when we are clamped up, closed up here, not breathing, we are clamped up and closed up down in our pelvis as well. So the more that we can relax the jaw, the more that we can allow breath just to flow in, which relaxes the rest of our body, we can then be open to receiving that sort of pleasure. Because some of us can get really afraid with the experience of oncoming incredible pleasure, because maybe we've never experienced that before, or whatever has happened in the past. And so through deep, long inhales, and obviously exhaling, we're not holding our breath, that gives our body the indication that, oh, this is a safe experience. And I can relax the muscles. I can open up the vaginal canal, open up the pelvis to receive whatever is penetrating me. Because in sexual penetration, the uterus actually pulls the cervix up and into the body cavity, putting it in a perfect position to be stimulated in a way that provides pleasure. If time isn't given and relaxation isn't occurring, that the uterus doesn't pull the cervix up, and the cervix is actually too low in the vaginal canal, which can cause pain. I'm sure most women that I've spoken to can relate to the experience of that, oh God, sharp pain of too deep of penetration. So through the breath, we are able to send signals to the body that it is safe to open, it is safe to relax, and it is safe to deepen into this experience of blissful pleasure that perhaps we might not have ever experienced before.
I love this thought of using breath as a means to find safety. That really quickly resonates, and I immediately think of Marines or other stories you hear, in those extreme situations where, things are crazy, but even in daily life, if things are elevating or escalating, you often hear, take those deep breaths. Breath has been in across the board, breath is used to calm yourself down, open your mind back up, which gets you into an awareness, which then allows you to be safe. So different inroads of that, but I don't know that I've drawn that direct connection that it's a means of safety. I love that. I really, really love that. That incorporation of dance and breath.
Mm-hmm.
Of mindfulness when we're dancing, of using breath as mindfulness to be in the moment of dancing. You're talking about how much the space and the bigness, a lot of that is a mindfulness when I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And awareness.
Absolutely. And dancing in particular, it starts with breath. It starts, I think that a lot of times we think about movement and we think about, I don't want to get out of breath. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like I'm panting hard. And it's this self-conscious thing that I have a lot, where it's I'm afraid to sound like I'm struggling, or I'm afraid that people will hear a moan or a sigh or whatever it is. And and again, it's that's why we have to start with the idea that it is okay, that I am already here, that I can make noise, I can take deep breaths, I can, stretch my body in a way that it needs to incorporate the breath. And talking about dance in particular, I mean, because of the physiology and like the physicality of it, we have to sometimes choose where we're going to take a breath. You know, if it's an adagio, if it's something that's very slow, you know, we can kind of be more fluid with our breath. But if we're going to do something that's like, and turn, touch, step, you know, like opening a chorus line kind of thing, we have to know when to open up and when to release the tension. The exhaling is just as important, if not more important sometimes, than the inhale. I choreograph a lot where I'll have a group of dancers before they even enter on the wings, they'll inhale and exhale together, and then they'll end the piece a lot of times facing forward, and they all again inhale and exhale. And so it's very important. It's not an afterthought. It's definitely the forefront of what we do when we dance and when we move. It's a deeply personal thing, you know, the way that we breathe when it comes to pleasure. You know, like I personally love laughing. I love like that sort of breathing. I love, you know, and it just depends on where you are. And I think that that's why I always come back to being okay with where you are and learning how to take up space and ask for what you need. And and it keeps it interesting, I think. And it's healing. It's pleasure is healing. You know, the breath is healing. It literally is the first thing that breathes us life when we come into the world.
If our brain is stuck in our thought patterns or stress or thinking about what we've got to do next, thinking of the to-do list, right? It's difficult for our minds to be fully present to the sensations in our bodies. When it comes to sex, that's when we realize like, oh, okay, it's difficult for me to experience orgasm, or it's difficult for me to really feel how I'm breathing. And, you know, it's pretty much taking those little cues in our mind, or what's happening, the busyness in life, as like, okay, I can take a step back and breathe, right? And just remember, breathing is involuntary, right? Like it's just like the pinky. We don't have to think about our pinky to know that it's working, to know that it's there for us. But the second you take over breathing and make it voluntary, that's when you can actually really help your nervous system come back into rest and digest mode, or a parasympathetic nervous system, so that you can actually enjoy your sensual experiences, right? When we're not there, when we're not in control of our breath, we're acting from the sympathetic nervous system, which is also known as fight or flight mode, right? That's like high stress, don't have time to feel. I've got a lot to do. I'm under attack. And unfortunately, a lot of us act like that. We act from that space. We act from fight or flight mode. So it's really about using your breath as that tool to come back into your body, to come back into rest and digest mode.
Carnal Theory is produced by My Sex Bio. Our sound design is by Audrey Cohane, and our theme music by Men the Universe. My Sex Bio is an educational platform built to empower people like you to take command of your sexual biography. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify at My Sex Bio. Visit our website and join our e-letter at mysexbio.org, and support our work by joining our Patreon. Thank you.